I was listening yesterday to one of Buzz Retirement Corner's videos. He was talking about. He said he's betting that he will live to be 75 or 80 years old. I think he's 65 years old now. So I'm 67 tomorrow. I turn 67 tomorrow. So I thought I'd tell you the story about my age. He said because of some health reasons and things like that, he just didn't figure he's going to live all of that long. So he's thinking 75 or 80 and kind of betting on that for his retirement process. Well, so I was born with some kind of heart problem, and I don't really remember what it was. And they actually did, I've been told all my life, they actually considered doing a heart surgery when I was born. That heart surgery was not done. And so as a kid, I always kind of knew that there was something that could be wrong with my heart. And so going out for sports and things like that, I would get short of breath real easy. And I always kind of assumed it was because of my heart, that I had a heart problem. And, running cross country, I did run cross country, but I would be short of breath through that. I did track some, but I'd be short of breath through that. I don't remember ever feeling short of breath doing things like wrestling or playing football or tennis. I don't remember feeling short of breath doing those sorts. Other than that, gasping when you've done something really high exertion real quickly. But when I really would notice a problem, almost like an asthma, where it felt like I couldn't catch my breath, was in cross country and in long distance running, that kind of things where you're exerting for a long time, exerting energy for a long time. And then, when growing up or getting out of the home, I would try to, I would go jogging and things like that. But I would always, very often, I feel like an asthma attack. And in fact, for a while, I did try some asthma inhalers, which I just felt like were making me drown. But so I just, I assumed it was my heart. I have a family history of heart conditions. My grandfather died at 52, I think it was, of a heart attack. My grandmother, his wife, died just 2 years later of a heart attack. I had an uncle that's on my mother's side. On my father's side, we had a family member that died of a heart attack in his early 50s, and I just assumed, all of my life, I assumed that I was going to die in my 50s. Heart attack in my 50s. When my oldest son was born, before he was born, we were going to this doctor. Her name was Anne St. Marie in Seaside, Oregon. And so we went to one of the appointments. After the appointment was over, the doctor took my wife aside, and now we're in our 20s. Doctor took my wife aside and said, I just want you to know your husband is a candidate for early heart attack. And she's just assessing that based on looking at me. I'm 6'1", I weigh over 200 pounds. Back in those days, I weighed probably 220 pounds. And, I was healthy. I was a bodybuilder, weightlifter, and all that. But so his doctor said he's a candidate for an early heart attack. He needs to be taking steps now to prevent that. Of course, I didn't know what those steps would be, how to make those steps, but always did. Just thought, I'd joke around about it when pastoring a church. If you don't like me, don't worry about it. I'm not going to live that long anyway. Just always thought that was going to be the case. Then 2007, I went in for a routine physical. Doctor did all of the stuff that he does, and a week or two later for the follow-up, he takes me into his office. He says, now we do everything as doctors, we do everything off of percentages, and based on the percentages, looking at your family history and your weight and your height and all of those things, that he said, you have a 20% chance of dying of a heart attack. I was 50 years old. You have a 20% chance of dying of a heart attack in the next 10 years. Does that concern you? Well, of course it does, yeah. But it was right on track of what I thought, 55-ish. I thought I would die of a heart attack, 55-ish anyway. And so he's right on target right on track. Does that concern you? And well, yeah, it does. He says, well, I thought so. Here's some things we can do. And he wanted to put me on some medication. He told me, there's not enough exercise in the world, and there's too much food nearby for you to ever control this with diet and exercise. And so he wanted to put me on all this medicine and stuff like that. I chose not to do the medicine. At least at first. I said, well, let's just take a year and let me try diet and exercise. And so what I did for 1 full year, I ate, and this was just in those days, I didn't know this is what I thought. So I ate no meat or dairy products for a year. I ate strictly vegetables for 1 year. I'd go to, I'd still do fast food kind of places, but I just tell them, I'm allergic to dairy. Make sure there's no dairy, and so I just eat strictly vegetables. I would roast up on the barbecuer this bunch of mixed vegetables and eat that by the gallons and things like that. Those sorts of things. And for a whole year, we did that. And the other thing I did is for a full year, 7 days a week, I went for a 45-minute walk. What we were doing, through the year, my wife and I, we got things to do. So we'd travel around the country doing preaching and so forth. And wherever we would go, I would stop at the mall and I would walk 45 minutes in the mall. I kept a record of all the different malls that I had walked in the country, and I had done it from coast to coast. Anyway, so at the end of the year, and every month I'd go in and getting blood work and all of those sorts of things. At the end of 2007, I went in and had a nuclear stress test done on my heart. It was right before Thanksgiving. And just before Thanksgiving, my wife and I were out giving turkeys to families in need. And just the week before Thanksgiving, and the doctor calls me up on the phone. He says, I've scheduled you for an appointment with a cardiologist. You need to see a cardiologist. I went to see him. This cardiologist said that the nuclear stress test revealed that 90% of the bottom of my heart was dead and that I needed emergency heart surgery. And so they scheduled this thing, and within a week or something like that, they take me to the hospital and put me under. And going to do an angiogram first to figure out how to do the heart surgery and all that kind of stuff. Do an angiogram and then go do the surgery. So they put me under, took me into the operating room, and then woke me up 15 minutes later and said, yeah, there's nothing wrong. We can't find anything wrong with your heart at all from the dye that they had done from the angiogram. And he said, we're going to take some time and we're going to do some more studies and things like that. So for about another month or two, I don't remember all of the different tests that they did, but they did several more tests on my heart and on me. And at the end of it, the cardiologist said, he said, if you die of a heart attack, it'll be just plain bad luck. There is a spot, he said, he could see a spot on my heart in the middle wall of my heart where I had obviously had some kind of disease or something in there, so there was some scar tissue. But he said, I'd trade you hearts. If you die of a heart attack, it'll be just plain bad luck. I don't have to tell anyone that I, had a heart problem or a heart procedure or anything, because it turned out it was nothing. And I was betting on 55, that I'd live to be 55. Tomorrow I'm 67, and I think all bets are off.